Have you ever felt completely overwhelmed, like you're facing an enemy you just can't beat? Well, today we're diving into an incredible story from the Bible about a man who faced exactly that, and his victory came in the most unexpected way. This is the story of Gideon. For 7 long years, the Israelites were terrorized by the Midianites. They were so afraid that they hid in caves and mountains. The Midianites would swarm in like locusts, destroying their crops and leaving them with nothing. It was during this dark time that an angel of the Lord appeared to a man named Gideon. But Gideon wasn't a king or a general. He was hiding, threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it from the enemy. The angel called him a mighty warrior, which must have sounded ridiculous to Gideon. He was full of doubt, from the weakest clan, the least in his family. Yet God had chosen him. After a few tests to make sure he was really hearing from God, you might have heard of the famous one with the fleece. Gideon gathered an army. He managed to get 32,000 men. Not bad, right? But God looked at this army and said, "It's too big." Too big? They were already outnumbered. God explained that if they won with such a large force, they would believe their own strength saved them. So the great reduction began. First, Gideon told anyone who was afraid to go home. Instantly, 22,000 men left. Now only 10,000 remained. But God said, "Still too many." He instructed Gideon to take the men to the water for a drink. Most of the men knelt down, putting their faces in the water, but a small group scooped the water up with their hands, lapping it like a dog, staying alert and ready. God said, "Those are your men." And just like that, Gideon's army was reduced to only 300 soldiers, 300 men against an army as thick as locusts, to boost Gideon's courage. God sent him to spy on the enemy camp that night. There, he overheard a soldier telling his friend about a dream he had. A loaf of barley bread tumbled into their camp and struck a tent, causing it to collapse. His friend immediately knew the meaning. This is the sword of Gideon. God has given the Midianites into his hands. Hearing this, Gideon was filled with confidence. He rushed back to his 300 men. Now for the battle plan. This is where it gets really interesting. Gideon didn't give his men swords or shields. Instead, he gave each soldier 3 things: a trumpet, an empty clay jar, and a torch to hide inside the jar. He split them into 3 groups and surrounded the massive Midianite camp. At the stroke of midnight, on Gideon's signal, all 300 men blew their trumpets, smashed their jars, and held up their torches, shouting, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon." Imagine the scene. In the dead of night, the enemy camp is suddenly shattered by the blast of 300 trumpets and the sight of 300 blazing torches appearing out of nowhere. The Midianites woke up in total chaos and panic. Thinking they were surrounded by a gigantic army, they turned on each other in the darkness and fled for their lives. Gideon's 300 men didn't even have to fight. God used their unconventional strategy to win a spectacular victory. The story of Gideon is a powerful reminder that it's not about our strength or our numbers, but about God's power working through us, often in the most surprising ways. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.